Imagine you're strapped into a cockpit simulation. The horizon stretches wide. The enemy ships flicker in and out, and every millisecond of latency feels like a life or death decision. You're racing through a neon-lit street in a cyberpunk shooter, and the tiniest ghosting artifact, just as you're pulling a drift turn, could be the difference between a perfect run and a brutal crash. What if the screen you're staring at could eliminate those moments of doubt, delivering every frame with the clarity of a film studio and the speed of a race car engine? That's the promise behind Alienware's 34-inch QD-OLED monitor, the AW3425DW, and in the next 6 minutes, we'll put that claim to the test. Gaming monitors have entered a crowded arena. The market is saturated with high refresh rates, but many models still rely on conventional LCD panels that struggle with black crush, color banding, and motion blur. Meanwhile, OLED solutions often sacrifice peak brightness or introduce burn-in risk, and the ultra-wide format adds a layer of complexity. Pixel density must stay high enough that the curve doesn't distort the image, and the ergonomics have to accommodate a wide field of view without causing neck strain. In short, gamers want the immersive width of a 34-inch display, the color fidelity of a professional monitor, and the ultra-low latency of a competitive-grade panel, all without compromising durability. Alienware's answer is a QD-OLED panel that claims 0.03 milliseconds response, 240Hz refresh, a 1800R curvature, and HDR True Black 400, wrapped in a chassis that looks like a high-end gaming console. From the moment you set the monitor on your desk, the first thing you notice is the matte black finish with brushed aluminum accents. Alienware's signature aesthetic, but refined for a more subdued office environment. The stand is a sturdy, fully articulating arm that offers tilt, swivel, and height adjustments, allowing you to fine-tune the 1800R curvature to match your seating position. The build feels solid. The chassis is a single-piece extrusion that resists wobble even when you lean on the sides for a quick adjustment. The 34.2-inch screen spans a generous 3440 by 1440 resolution, delivering roughly 110 pixels per inch, sharp enough that text looks clean and in-game textures remain crisp at the edges. The curved glass sits just 8 millimeters from the panel, which helps maintain a uniform focal distance across the breadth of the screen, reducing eye fatigue during marathon sessions. Now, let's break down what makes this monitor technically distinct. The heart of the display is a quantum dot OLED, QD-OLED, panel, a hybrid technology that merges the self-emissive benefits of OLED with the color-boosting properties of quantum dots. This combination translates to DCI-P3 coverage of 99.3% and a delta E under 2, meaning the colors you see are within 2 units of the reference standard, a level typically reserved for color-critical workstations. HDR True Black 400 adds a peak brightness of 400 nits while preserving true black levels, so you get both punchy highlights and deep shadows without the blooming that plagues many LCD HDR displays. Speed-wise, the monitor's 0.03 milliseconds gray-to-gray response time is nominally the fastest you'll find in consumer hardware. Couple that with a native 240Hz refresh rate and adaptive sync support through both AMD FreeSync Premium Pro and Visa Adaptive Sync, and you have a panel that can synchronize with a wide range of GPUs, reducing tearing and stutter even in the most demanding titles. The input lag, measured at roughly 5 milliseconds at 240 Hz, places this monitor in the elite tier of gaming displays, well below the threshold where competitive players begin to feel an advantage. On the connectivity front, the rear panel offers a full suite: 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, a DisplayPort 1.4, a USB Type-C with power delivery and DisplayPort alternate mode, plus a 4-port USB 3.2 hub for peripherals. The USB-C can deliver up to 90 watts, which means you could theoretically charge a laptop while gaming, simplifying desk clutter. Real-world testing paints a vivid picture of how these specs translate to everyday performance. In a fast-paced first-person shooter like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the monitor's high refresh and ultra-low response kept ghosting virtually invisible, even during rapid strafing. The 1800R curve wrapped the peripheral vision, allowing you to spot enemies at the far edges without turning the head. When I turned on HDR True Black 400 in a dark sci-fi adventure, the night skies held true blacks, while the distant neon signs glowed brightly. No clipping, no washout. In a productivity scenario, dragging a 4K video timeline across the ultra-wide workspace felt natural. The extra horizontal real estate eliminated the need for constant scrolling, and the color accuracy meant grading footage required minimal correction. However, the panel does have a modest peak brightness ceiling at 400 nits, which, while more than sufficient for most indoor gaming, can be limiting in a bright room with strong ambient light. Additionally, the inclusion of OLED technology always raises the specter of burn-in. Alienware's pixel shift and logo dim features mitigate risk, but users with static UI elements on for many hours should remain vigilant. Summarizing the positives, the design is both aggressive and refined. The build quality feels premium. The QD-OLED panel delivers unrivaled color fidelity in deep blacks, and the 240Hz refresh with sub-5 ms input lag makes it a top-tier competitive monitor. On the downside, the peak brightness is lower than the 600+ nits found on some high-end LCD HDR displays, and the price point sits well into the $400 range, which may be prohibitive for budget-conscious builders. Burn-in risk, while mitigated, still exists, and a wide, ultra-wide format may require a larger desk footprint. When you stack this monitor against its main competitors, the LG 34 GP950G and the Samsung Odyssey G7, you'll notice distinct trade-offs. The LG offers a similar 34-inch ultra-wide LCD with 144Hz and good color coverage, but it can't match the OLED's true blacks or the 240Hz peak refresh. The Samsung G7, a 32-inch VA panel, delivers 240Hz and a higher 1000 nits peak, yet its color gamut and HDR performance fall short of the QD-OLED's DCI-P3 coverage. In other words, if you value absolute color accuracy and deep black performance for both gaming and creative work, the Alienware edges ahead. If you need sheer brightness for a well-lit room, a lower-cost LCD might serve you better. All things considered, the Alienware AW3425DW positions itself as a premium, all-rounder solution that bridges the gap between competitive gaming and content creation. It offers an immersive curved canvas, elite speed, and a color performance that rivals dedicated professional monitors, all while maintaining the aesthetic flair expected from the Alienware brand. For anyone with the desk space, budget, and desire for an uncompromising visual experience, whether you're chasing high-score leaderboards or polishing a cinematic cut, the monitor stands out as a compelling, future-proof investment. If this deep dive has sparked interest, the next step is simple. Head over to your preferred retailer, compare current pricing, and consider the accessories you might need, such as a compatible GPU that can push 240Hz at WQHD, or a V-Sync-enabled game title to fully exploit the adaptive sync capabilities. Give the AW3425DW a try, and let the colors of your favorite games finally be seen as the developers intended.